Hi, welcome to Box on the Box, Rock and Celluloid, Bot Brat for short. I'm Edward Box. So today I'm going to rank the Iron Maiden albums. So the 17 studio albums, but I'm putting in three wild cards. So we'll rank 20 of them. So Maiden, I've got to be honest, Maiden aren't one of my favourite bands. There's Maiden tracks I really love. I've got a particular fondness for some albums, but I've always preferred other areas of traditional heavy metal and so on. But there's no doubt they're a massively influential band, particularly in the area of like putting on great live shows and having great branding, having a great logo and mascot, and that's a real sort of lesson for other metal bands, I think, in how to present yourself and how to give the fans what they want, really. So let's start with my number 20 choice. So no real surprises here. It's Virtual 11. The Blaze Bayley era has its fans. I had to listen to this album a few times. I just think Blaze Bayley was the wrong singer. His register was too low. He can't quite hit those high notes that Bruce does. I'm just checking here on the tracks. I think the other issue with this album is you've got 8 tracks, which is good. It's 53 minutes, so already Maiden, although they've done 8-track albums before, those tracks are starting to get long. There's only Future Real's probably the best track that people know, and that's only 3 minutes, and it's something that Maiden have gone away from and they need to get back to, in my opinion. I think the production's a bit sort of clicky. It's just a difficult period for Maiden. There's no surprise Bruce came back. Difficult periods for Judas Priest. All these bands were kind of written off in the 90s. The Scorpions, Maiden, Priest, and really what they had to do is realise their legacy bands. That's what happened really with Advent of what we call classic rock. And then they were able to reboot from there. So our next choice is the X Factor, which is the first Blaze Bayley album. This is generally seen as the better one. My main issue with this, again, is the length. It's 70 minutes and 54 seconds. You've got 11 tracks on it. This is a sign of things to come. But what's particularly prevalent on this album is the introduction of long intros and long outros. This is going to be a problem that affects many. Some of them have always toyed with prior to this, but really here becomes a main feature. I think about 8 of the songs on this album have excessively long intros. I can see the logic of that. If you're playing the track live, it gives the singer a break, but it's not a great listening experience, especially when you start cutting and pasting on the end. Again, we'll come to that. So again, people, a bit of a cliche from me, I suppose, picking those two. So my next choice, I think, will be controversial, and in some ways, I was almost tempted to put this in last place, and it's 2015's The Book of Souls. First port of call, 92 minutes, double album. It's just bloated. The song structures are bloated. You've got the spectre of these long intros now really taking hold. I think the production's woeful. I think they should get rid of Kevin Shirley. I think it's his worst production job for the band. There's some really bad edits where you can tell the band are just jammed in the studio and then they've cut it together. I just feel doing a double album may appear to fans that they've made an effort, but to me it's actually laziness. And Maiden can't be bothered editing themselves. I don't like Empire of the Clouds. Interesting lyrical subject, far too long. Listen to Bruce Dickinson's version of If Eternity Should Fail on his latest solo album, and you can hear what a Maiden song can sound like with better production and more focus on time playing. Again, just my take, but really don't like this. So my next 2 choices are my first wild cards, and it's the 2 live albums. I'm going to pick a real live one first. This actually did better than the Real Dead one when it came out. This was tracks from 1988 onwards, 1986 onwards, apologies. And there's some good tunes on here. Wasting Love would be pretty interesting, and so on. But it just came out in an era where live albums were like getting passe. Live albums had peaked really in the mid-80s. And it also had a poor album cover. This is going back to No Prayer for the Dying. It's Seventh Son to me. There's a kind of a drop in the standard of album artwork for Maiden album covers. So my next choice wildcard is a real dead one. So this didn't do as well, but a lot of people prefer this because it's Bruce singing older stuff. So you get tracks like Sanctuary, Running Free, Iron Maiden, tracks Prowler, tracks that he didn't record. You get Remember Tomorrow as well. This makes it more interesting for deep Maiden fans, and it gives those tracks a kick up the arse. So that was quite interesting. But again, just coming out of a time when the live album, Maiden, let's stick some live albums out just to plug the gap, really. Again, the beginning of difficult times for not only Maiden but other bands. Okay, so my next choice coming in at number 15 is Senjutsu. So this is the most recent album. I feel this suffers from the same problems as Book of Souls, but it's better. It's 81 minutes. The fact they did a double album again, to me, just shows that they can't be bothered editing themselves. But there's some better tracks. I think Senjutsu is quite interesting. The Writing on the Wall was good again. Adrian Smith coming to the fore. Days of Future Past. Darkest Hour, I do like that. Good lyric against Smith and Dickinson. I always feel that their writing's superior to Steve Harris. Definitely Celts and Parchment, Hell on Earth, all these tracks by Harris are really long, and they finish and start and end, with long intros. You do an experiment on the new Maiden albums, just play the intro and forward to the end of the track, we'll just cut and paste it on. And it's not good enough, in my viewpoint. But it was an improvement on Book of Souls, but not where they should be going, my viewpoint. But hey, what do I know? They're still big. My next choice is Final Frontier. Again, this album, again, beset with some of the same problems, but some really good tracks on this. I don't like Satellite 15, but I do like the title track, The Final Frontier. Or one of my criticisms is the way it repeats, the Final Frontier. The Final Frontier, just as a chorus, like Bruce can't be bothered writing lyrics that rhyme and creating a more interesting story within the chorus. This is quite a thing, really, with Maiden. Been a brave new world, in a brave new world, seventh son of a seventh son, repeating choruses. El Dorado, don't really like it. It's like comedy Maiden, Bruce doing his cackle. Mother of Mercy's alright. Coming Home, a really nice track against Smith, getting in there on the writing, a nice ballad about Bruce flying his plane. Alchemist, not fussed with. Yannick Gers, not the best writer. Isle of Avalon, do quite like this. Some nice intros. And Starblind, do quite like this. And there's a nice sort of almost jazz rock feel solo from Adrian. Then it just tails off. Steve using the titles of films. The Man Who Will Be King, When the Wild Wind Blows. When the Wind Blows, that's from, to get titles. The Final Frontier, of course, was actually used by Keel back in 1986. So, again, a popular album for the band. It's okay, but it was a disappointment from what came before. Okay, so my next choice, again, might be a bit controversial. I always had this down as being a bit of a dog of an album. I think it is, in a lot of ways. But I don't think, with the passage of time, it's kind of an easier listening than what's gone on since. There's No Prayer for the Dying. Not My Son Telgar, the Holy Smokes, just sort of crap comedy Maiden. But Public Enemy number 1, Fate's Warning are interesting. The Assassin, poor lyrics on that, but Run Silent, Run Deep, I think's a good track. Mother Russia as well has got some interesting bits. Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, it's good fun, but I don't feel Maiden should be doing comedy tracks like that. I was watching Sea of Tranquility. Pete Parder pointed out there's little bits of hair metal here, tracks like Hooks in You, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter sort of have that element. Obviously the real problem with this album was the production, choosing to record in Steve's barn. I've never really been massive on Maiden production, but anyway, I think it's it's probably give it a 5 out of 10. It's not quite as bad as we think it is. It's 43 minutes long, so it's quite zippy. Not Him from Rainbow. Okay, so track number 12, I'm going for Fear of the Dark. This is a follow-up to No Prayer for the Dying. Better artwork, as you just say, No Prayer for the Dying is really where the artwork starts to slip. Bit better artwork with this. Bands made more of an effort, better sounding record. Be Quick or Be Dead, good track, co-written by Yannick Gers with Bruce. Wasting Love, a really good ballad. Not the typical Maiden track, but it works really well. And then Judas Be My Guide, Cohen, Dickinson and Murray. I really like this track. Really melodic. Only 3 minutes and 6. Not a typical Maiden track. I think album benefits from that. And then, of course, the title track, Fear of the Dark, which is a live favourite, but does have that long intro. So yeah, I mean, I'm not massive on a lot of the tracks on this, but it's got those strong cuts, which still get played. Yannick Gers, sort of probably his finest moment with Maiden. Okay, on to the next one, coming in at number 11. Might be a bit controversial this as well. I'm going for Brave New World. This was the comeback album. I think what's interesting about this is it only made number 9 in the UK charts. It didn't chart very high in America. We actually sold about 300,000 copies. It still came at a time when people would buy CDs. But a lot of fans are really into this. I do like it. I think sometimes for me, it's got a consistency. It just doesn't always have tracks that I love, but it's got a lot of tracks I like The Wicker Man, Ghost of the Navigator, Brave New World, Blood Brothers, Steve using the title of a play this time. The Nomad, is that the track where they rip off, where they use some of the band Beckett? Anyway, it's kind of a sign of where things are going. It's 66 minutes long, only 10 tracks. So Fear of the Dark had 11 tracks. I think at 12 was only 57 minutes long. This is 66 minutes. That means the average track length is over 6.5 minutes. But a good move getting Kevin Shirley in at this point, bringing more polish to the production and just the band really making an effort. Me personally, I don't feel a need for Yannick Gers to be in this lineup of Maiden. I think why he was kept in, because he's a good bloke. They like his performance style on stage and he gets on with everyone and he can be a nice buffer between the more spiky personalities. That's just my take. But Brave New World, just coming at 11. This one's just kind of pitched it to number 10. It's Dance of Death. So I would agree Dance of Death's not as good a sounding album. In some ways it's not as consistent, but its good tracks are really, really great. I really like them. Don't like Wildest Dreams. Maiden have really crap opening tracks sometimes. But Rainmaker and No More Lies are very, very good. Monsignor's okay. Dance of Death, excellent track. Lovely tap bit. Gates of Tomorrow's pretty good. New Frontier's pretty good. Passchendaele, excellent track. Really good. Facing the Sand, I think it's pretty good. It's got quite a nice little kind of flat 5. Age of Innocence, I think it's pretty good. And then the excellent Journeyman, Bruce finally getting a kind of acoustic track in. I haven't really done that since Prodigal Son. 67 minutes, 11 tracks, so the track's a little shorter on this. So it's got some, tracks I'm not as keen on, but it's got some 4 or 5 really, really good tracks on this album. And I've always liked it, but I do find the production muddy. Okay, number 9. I am going for Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I've always kind of been a bit down on this album, but I've given it a good listen recently, and I can see why people really like it. I think it's a superior sounding album to Somewhere in Time. It's got the synth sound, but it's better. And it's pretty 43 minutes, 8 tracks. It's pretty nippy. Moonchild, really cool kind of Alan Parsons style opening. Infinite Dreams, I like, kind of Play with Madness. Actually, it's catchy. Don't like the middle section, but quite a nice sounding tracks. Evil Madman Do, probably like the best track on side 1, just a real kind of Maiden classic there. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, I do find the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, why couldn't I come up with more lyrics to the chorus, but it's good. It's got a really atmospheric middle section, and the prophecy, there's a time to live, and the time, oh no, is that the Clairvoyant? I've got it wrong, sorry. The prophecy's okay, the Clairvoyant's got the top chorus of like, Only the Good Die Young. Yeah, it's pretty catchy. I think one of the reasons people love this album, I think it was a kind of second or third gateway album for a lot of Maiden fans. They're Maiden fans who bought the first album. There's people who've got Number of the Beast, people who got Power Slave, people getting into metal in 88 in the era of Guns N' Roses and so on. This would be a key album. So I think that's why it's really popular with some Maiden fans. But for me, it's not as strong. But it still continues. It's the end of the very strong run of Maiden albums, although not a classic in my opinion. Which brings me to number 8, which is Somewhere in Time. So, as I said, I think the production's superior on Seventh Son, but I just think this has got some really crack. There's no track on Seventh Son to me that's as good as Wasted Years. or Stranger in a Strange Land. It is very sludgy, the production, but Caught Somewhere in Time's a great opener. Wasted Years, we know that's really good. Adrian Smith, brilliant. Sea of Madness, very good again. Smith writing that as well. Heaven Can Wait, quite interesting. Heaven Can Wait. He's repeating again, Bruce. And it's a Warren Beatty film this time. They nicked the title off. But I love that whoa, whoa bit in the middle, which is clearly about audience participation, but it's got those really cool chord changes in it. So I do like that. And you got Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, another film. He could have called it Billy Liar or Kind of Loving. But anyway, yeah, this is a pretty good track. Nice harmony guitars on this. Then you got Stranger in a Strange Land, which is a classic. Deja Vu just seems to copy the kind of harmony style of Long Distance Runner. So I'm not into that. Alexander the Great, it's okay. I think some kind of tails off, but it's a close one with Seventh Son, I think, listening to it. So the point I was going to make, which I just missed really, was Seventh Son. No criticism of it. I think they're half-assed on the concept. It came out at the same time as Operation Mindcrime. I think Bruce Dickinson said, "Oh, we dropped the ball." It feels like they haven't put kind of bits in between and tried to glue the whole project together. And if you actually look at Somewhere in Time, although it's not a concept album, there is conceptual elements. Caught Somewhere in Time. Wasted Years is about time. I suspect Sea of Madness is. Heaven Can Wait. Mortality Time. Loneliness of Long Distance Runner, Running a Long Distance Time, Stranger in a Strange Land, science fiction, Deja Vu, obviously the feeling you've recognised something. So there's almost a conceptual element to these lyrics here. So, you know, that's how I kind of feel like Seventh Son's a bit of like a half-ass thing. You know, you could argue, well, they've got a conceptual element with this album. Okay, my next album this is the highest of the new ones, and it's A Matter of Life and Death. Another film. He could have called it The Red Shoes, couldn't he? Or perhaps, you know, The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. But anyway, this album, strong points. It's the best produced of the Kevin Shirley albums. I actually think this is a decent sounding record. I think they made a big effort on this. I think everyone was very engaged with this. I do think it's too long as usual, but I think they like this album so much they actually played it in its entirety. Let's look at the tracks. Different World again, starting with the weakest track on the album, don't like it. But These Colours Don't Run is decent, it's a good track. And then you get a real excellent track in Brighter Than a Thousand Suns. Absolutely brilliant, the best track on the album. The Pilgrim, it's pretty good, it's okay. Then the excellent Longest Day, really powerful lyrics on this, really builds up. Another film title. Out of the Shadows, a good ballad. Reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg, an interesting main track, really like it. For the Greater Good of God, another epic. And then finishing with Lord of Light and The Legacy, two interesting tracks, particularly Legacy, quite, and then down, down. Again, the spectre of intros and stuff, but again, this was a thematic album, so not a concept album, but it had a thematic element to it, and I think it's a very good record. I think a bit of editing and a few other things might have revealed like a real Maiden classic for me, but very good. Okay, so number 6 is my final wild card, and it's of course Live After Death. This is the last great live album, classic live album of the era of live albums. Live albums start back in the 60s. Great, made in Japan, Live and Dangerous, Strange in the Night, Unleashed in the East. In the 80s, they tail off, but you get gems like One Night at Budokan MSG, and you get this, and Worldwide Live by the Scorpions, of course, the Toyo Tapes. So Worldwide Live's a very good, not a classic, but this is a classic because it catches Maiden at their zenith. It's very rarely live albums catch a band at their creative and commercial zenith. I think Worldwide Live catches Scorpions at their commercial zenith, maybe not the creative. But, you know, they're coming off a run of 5 classic albums. I'm giving the game away there. And then they basically, you know, they put this out. It's got a great video with it. It's got the Long Beach Arena. The stage show's amazing. The whole delivery of this, and it's absolute classic live album, a classic Maiden album. And again, another possible gateway album for people who want to check out our Maiden. They can get all those tracks. Okay, so you've got to put it in. You've seen my other ranking things where I've put in If You Want Blood, You've Got It, and so on. You know, some of these live albums are so good, they're kind of got to be in there. Okay, so this is where it gets tricky, those 5 albums, where do we rank them? So Sometimes it can change, but today I'm going to rank at number 5, Number of the Beast. My brother got this when it came out, off the back of Run to the Hills. We had the first two Maiden albums. I really liked it at the time, and then we kind of went off the whole Maiden thing a bit. Looking back, it's a key album, not only for Maiden, but in metal itself. Weird, it starts with probably maybe the weakest track on the album, Invaders, strange. Then you get Children of the Damned. I think that's my favourite track on the album. The Prisoner, very good. 22 Acacia Avenue, very good. Title track, Number of the Beast, and Run to the Hills. Heard them too many times, but very good tracks. People not Run to the Hills, but it's a really catchy track. Then Gangland, again, the sort of the hidden track on the album, and then Hallowed Be Thy Name, maybe one of the most important Maiden tracks. They're, finally doing an epic track where they've got like melody and drama and all those elements. So no doubt a classic album. So I'll probably tell you my number 4 choice is Peace of Mind. I'm just pipping it with the Beast today. I think it's just a bit more interesting. Where Eagles Dare. He's done another one, he could have called it, if he wanted to choose another Guys on a Mission thing, he could have called it The Devil's Brigade. There's an obscure one. Revelations, Flight of Icarus, Die With Your Boots On. Is that not? They Died With Their Boots On. That's an Errol Flynn film. Really good. I mean, Where Eagles Dare, the lyrics are a bit daft. I love the film, but it's great. It's one of the best ever Maiden tracks. Revelations, really good. Flight of Icarus, where Bruce really brings out the harmonies, which will come to more prevalence. Really good. Die With the Boots, and good track, not great. The Trooper, probably maybe the most popular Maiden track. Still Life, the kind of interesting hint track. And then tracks which are a bit crap, but I really like them, which is Quest for Fire and Sun and Steel. They're short, 3:40, 3:25, but they're catchy. They've got daft lyrics. Quest for Fire is actually a film as well. Sunlight falling on my steel. Cool. And then To Tame a Land, based on June. This is where the classic sort of Maiden intro thing, this will be the undoing of Harris, is writing at times, this to me. He puts a long intro on this. Cool back then, but that will keep coming back to it. But still, a really good follow-up to a hugely important album. Okay, this was a tough one. My number 3 choice, I am going for Power Slave. I think this is the best sounding era of the best sounding Bruce album. It's got great cover. It's got great sort of look. Of course, they did an amazing turn on the live album. Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, brilliant tracks with great harmonies and melodies. 2 Minutes to Midnight, great guitar solos. And Aces High from Adrian and Dave, really hitting the spot with this. Lost for Words, just a track I can't get into. It's an instrumental. This song feels a bit lost after the brilliance of Transylvania and Genghis Khan. Just feels like, not that great. But then you get Flash of the Blade, which is a really cool riff. And then The Duelist, another really good... Oh, it's a Ridley Scott film. It's a really good track. So side one, Lost Words aside. Back in the Village, interesting in doing a sequel to The Prisoner. I'm not that keen on it, but then he finishes with 2 of the very best Maiden tracks ever in a Bruce era. Power Slave, maybe the greatest Bruce track to me, with incredible harmonies. Of course, Rhyme in Ancient Manner and a 1345, really pulling off the epic here. Always interesting, that great atmospheric middle section with the augmented arpeggio on the bass, and I love the way the volume swells, sound and feel like the sea and the creaking, and it could be cheesy, but it works really well. I am a couple of moments aside, I think this is a really strong record. So my number 2 choice, it's got crap production, but it's just, if you were there in 1980, it was something different. And of course, it's the debut of Iron Maiden, one of the most important metal album that started it all. And picking some artwork by accident, let's get this off Derek Riggs. It was commissioned. But it gave him a mascot and that logo on the top, and it just gave him that branding. Don't really like the redone one that you get on the remastered edition. Go with the classic. What's his album like? Prowler, Remember Tomorrow, Running Free, Phantom of the Opera. One of the strongest side ones on any metal album. Then Transylvania, brilliant. Strange World, Deep Cut, excellent. Charlotte the Harlot, actually a really fun track, but probably the second weakest track on the album. Weirdly enough, Iron Maiden, the track that a lot of Maiden fans don't really like. They always play it, but Iron Maiden's gonna get you. But it is a good track. I mean, a very consistent album. If Steve Harris he takes the sound of it, I always wonder. I'd love to hear a remix. You know, there's a lot you could do now to get the balance better and punch up the drums. Okay, so you won't surprise my number one choice, and this is a lot of people's top Maiden album, and it's Killers. Why am I picking this one? I think the production's vastly improved. Adrian Smith comes on board. Di Anno, he's not the singer Bruce is, but it always gave it an interesting sound, and it's also Maiden, like on the first album, but particularly this album, they haven't really decided what they are and what they want to be. The sort of typical main progression or main gallop hasn't really come into fruition, so it makes it interesting. You get the Ides of March in a Rothschild, brilliant 1-2 punch, the almost punkiness of Murders in the Rue Morgue. Another Life with that bluesy lick, you know, they're actually playing this in the days before the debut on. Genghis Khan, excellent instrumental. In Innocent Exile, such a good slinky riff, almost bluesy, with a great vocal by Di Anno. Side 2, Killers, probably maybe my favourite Di Anno track, absolutely brilliant. And Prodigal Son, another favourite track with beautiful acoustic playing. Love this track with Smithy's great break. Purgatory, really good harmony guitars. And then, oddly enough, probably finishes with my least favourite track, Drifter, but I do like it. It's a good sing-along. There's not a bad track on this album, and you got like Twilight Zone as well, which was interesting. So a really great record, a record that sums up what the new Wobham can be and rise to and lay the groundwork for a band, because I think with this album really they started to tap into America more. Loading as well, do as well in Britain as the first one, but brilliant album cover as well, maybe the best Maiden album cover apart from Power Slave. Just perfect heavy metal. Okay, that is my ranking out on Maiden albums. It's taking 26 minutes. Bloody hell. Right, remember to share and subscribe, and I'll see you again.